So before I get into the matter at hand, and I'm open to that, I thought since I haven't taught in a while, any questions? So this is an opportunity, here we are, right? For some reason we're all here this morning, right? And we may have all reasons why we came this morning, but somehow we're here. And we're all here for different reasons, and we may be here again, we may not be here again, but right now we're here, okay? And like I'm sitting up here as the Dharma teacher with 50 years of experience, as well as I'm a father and a grandfather and a professional, okay? As well as practice the Dharma meditation. You're here for some reason. Do you have any questions about meditation, about spiritual life, about how to apply the teachings in your daily life? So take a moment. Any questions that really just come up about spiritual practice, Dharma practice, meditation practice, and most importantly, how do we bring it into our daily life? So just kind of think about your life, your practice, what works, what doesn't. And online, people can just chat the question in, right? Dion, you're up there?
Yes.
Okay, they can chat the question in. So we'll begin. Tony, you're still on? And by the way, thank you for coming today. Happy Father's Day to all you. Well, everybody has a father. They may not be alive. My father's not alive, but we all had a father. We wouldn't be here without him. Whether he was a good father or not so good father, good and bad father, still, we wouldn't be alive without his contribution. So, and he's in us. Now, some people that's good news, some people that's not good news. But, we carry the gene pool of our fathers, we carry the ancestral pool of our fathers, so there's a lot. When we look in the mirror, part of the way we look is from our father's gene pool, right? So it's important that we acknowledge that we had a father and that we have ancestors, for better or worse, and they are alive in us, for better or worse. Yes, Tony.
Yep. Actually, when I was driving up today, I actually was thinking that. I was like, I wonder, next time I speak with Fred, I was thinking, when I think about or I reflect on the three jewels, I have this, I won't call it sneaking suspicion, but I thought to myself, next time I speak with Fred, I was maybe going to ask him, hey, can we spend a moment or two talking about taking refuge in the Buddha? Because I have this sneaking suspicion that a lot of times when I contemplate that, I just contemplate that literally. And when I dabble on it a little bit further, I realize there's more to it than I probably realized. So that's what I just wanted to throw out there for you this morning to get your thoughts on.
Well, that could be a whole Dharma talk, so I'll just give you the brief one. So for those of you who are new, and again, this is you'll learn about this in the Buddhist class, going back to the time of the Buddha, when people said to him, when he began to teach, we want to be your student, we want to have a formal relation, he gave them this little simple formula, which is called refuge, which means I take refuge in the Buddha, and we'll talk about that. I take refuge in the Dharma, which is the teachings and the practices of the Buddha, and now it's teaching and practice of the whole 2,600 years of our tradition. And 3 is I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of practitioners. But we'll just keep it simple, we'll come to the Buddha. So the key thing is refuge. And we seek a safe refuge. Why? When? I'll answer my own question. In a storm, right? Now, those of us who live in Florida, we know about storms. And if there's one thing we want in a storm is what? A safe refuge. Someplace that I can go to that I know I'll be safe. Okay? Now, with this analogy. The storm is life. Right? Everybody know what I'm talking about? Everybody know their life? And it's not just only the storms of our personal life, it's the storms of impermanence. Things are changing all the time. Conditions are changing all the time, right? So there's a storm, right? Things are just happening. And we know, living in the world we do, that it can be very personal, it can be societal, it can be global, right? A lot of winds are blowing. And just like a hurricane, we don't have any control over them, do we? All we have control over is, I want a good refuge when that storm comes. Okay? So, with that idea, we go, all right, in the storms of life, right? What blows me about? And where do I find a place that I can take refuge in, so I don't get blown about by the storms of life? Whether they're the storms of life in our own little narrow world, whether they're the storms of life in my own mind, thoughts and emotions, whether it's the storms of life that are going on in the bigger world, where can I go for refuge? Where can I find stability? Where can I find clarity? You know. So the first refuge is the Buddha. And the Buddha has different meanings. At the deepest meaning, it's a trust that within me I have all the capacities I need to take care of myself and to take care of my mind. Right? I have that refuge. And I can take refuge in it. Whether we call it the mind that's aware, the mind that knows, the mind that, the basic intelligence and compassion. We have these qualities in us. We have our own Buddha nature. And I can take refuge in them. The problem is they may not be very alive in me now. So therefore, that's why we have the Dharma, the practices, the teachings that help me understand what's going on. What's going on in this world. But also at the time of the Buddha until now, refuge also means, like the Buddha, teacher. I'm a teacher, so this may sound self-serving, but it's really not, because I had teachers, still have teachers. We need teachers that can show us the way, right? Because we can read the books, we can listen to the podcast endlessly, but, how do I apply it to my life? It's like what you're asking, right? So for that, we need teachers. We have to take refuge in our teacher, right? Which is hard for us. Because many of us, when we think about our teachers, what? We don't have a lot of respect for them, right? I remember the first time I sat down with my son and watched, what was that guy? And he had a stupid father. It's a very popular kids show. What? What? No, not Father Knows Best. It's later. The Simpsons. The Simpsons. And what was the kid's name? Bart. And I could saw how my son just loved it. He was just eating it up. And I realized, what is the message of The Simpsons, right? Adults are what? Idiots. Right? And then there was that other one I used to watch. Beavis and... Right, now again, I can understand humor, but what was the message? Adults are idiots. So, we have to understand we grow up in a culture where we don't respect our teachers, we don't respect authorities, we don't, and then all of a sudden you come, to your spiritual life, which is really about your own transformation and healing, and you don't know how to do it yourself, or you wouldn't be here. So then there are teachers. Can you trust your teacher? Because if you can't trust your teacher, it's very difficult to follow his or her directions. Right? It makes it very difficult for us. So it's taking refuge means, I like to use the word trust and confidence. Can I trust the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha? You see what I'm saying? Can I have confidence in this 2,600-year-old path? Right? And can I have confidence in the teacher? Again, it sounds self-serving, but people have been around, you have to check the teacher out. Check the teacher out. Are they authentic? Are they?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so that's important. Good. Other questions? Can come from anywhere. Yes.
Just I'm new to Buddhism, practice, starting to read.
Yes, yeah. Oh, wait, yeah. Okay.
I'm new to Buddhism, the practice, and some of the concepts of form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And I know it probably is not the time for
that's the deep end of the pool. That's the deep end of the pool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Form is empty. That's the prajnaparamita. That's the deep end of the pool. That's sort of the wisdom dharma side. Yeah, but it's what does it mean? When we talk about, when Buddhism, in a very simple way, so in Buddhism, this emptiness, anybody ever hear in relation to Buddhism this word emptiness? Yeah, well, not everybody, that's good. So those of you who haven't heard it, you're probably confused, like what are we talking about? But it's a very, for those who come, we chant the Heart Sutra here, which says form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Very famous. Now, what does it mean? See, we think of emptiness as like this space is empty, like there's nothing there. Okay. That's not what it means. What it means is empty of solidity, empty of permanence. Now, that is something we can understand, right? Thich Nhat Hanh he called it interbeing, right? In other words, everything is just made of parts. Like you might call this a teaching table. And yet, it just is parts. And if I took the top off and I put one leg over here and one leg over there, and I put that there, and I separated all these, you'd come in and you go, what are those pieces of lumber doing there? Right? See, when it's all put together, it looks like, this is the form. It's a teaching table, right? It looks very solid and real. But it's really just made up of parts. I'll give you another example. You. Yeah, you, right there. You look real. Right? He's my cousin, so I can talk this way to him. You look real, don't you? You look solid. You have a name. You have a profession, right? And yet, if I did an autopsy on you, if I took all your parts and I laid them out, would your wife come in and go, "Hello, Robert"? No. So even though you appear in a form, it's empty of any solidity. It's empty of permanence. It is empty of any solid thing called Robert, because you'll find lots of parts, and you say, well, maybe he's in my mind. Let's take your mind apart. When we look at our minds, what do we find? Thoughts, feelings, memories. Do we find any solid, permanent thing? Anyway, I could go on and on. It's another Dharma talk. So that's what it means. What's the end game? To wake up. The end game is to wake up. To see clearly. Yeah, because when we don't see clearly, we grasp at things. Right? We grasp at things.
So we're dissolving? We're trying to...
No, we're not dissolving. We're just seeing it as it is. For example, you think of something that really looks good to you. So let me ask you, think of something you really get a lot of desire for. Like, what could that be? Ice cream. Anything else? Anything else? Come on, our whole life is based on desires. What other kind of desires do we have? Money. Status. Nice things. Yeah. We like nice. Yeah. Okay. Now, we're talking about things that appear, right? Solid, real. Okay. So when you, let's say you take that sweet, right, and you buy it. You go to Publix and you buy your, then you take it home, and then what? And then what? And then you eat it. And you have pleasure for how long? How long do you have pleasure?
Until everything's empty.
Yeah, right. Which means it's gone almost as fast as it appears. Why did that happen? Why aren't I satisfied forever? Because there's really nothing there of any permanence. So we want money, we want status, we want things, right? Our whole life is motivated. But when we get them, then what? What happened? We're still not satisfied. We want more. There's got to be more money, more things, more new. Now, what? So this is seeing reality. So the form looks good, doesn't it? But when you see the other side of it, that gives you a caution. You go, maybe I won't find what I'm looking for in that. Right? And that's wisdom. That's understanding. And that can modify how you are in life. Right? That if you're really looking for contentment and happiness, wouldn't you want to find things that really give it to you? More than just, a momentary pleasure? More than just a momentary feel-good? Right? I mean, I always use the example, anybody ever buy a new car? Raise your hand if you ever bought a new car. How do you feel when you get that new car home? How do you feel? Oh, you feel great, right? Got that new car smell, and you take real care, right? And how long does that last? Now, why is that? Because all that energy we put into the car and the happiness was all, cars, don't tell the car industry this. Cars cannot give us happiness. They're inanimate. They're hunks of metal. Is that clear? How can a hunk of metal give you happiness? It's impossible. And yet, our minds imbue that object as if, because we think it's real, solid thing. It's just a car, right? And actually, at one time, the car could become a source of suffering to us. Anybody have their bright, wonderful new car over a couple of years turn to a source of suffering? So, that's the intelligence that comes from understanding things as they are. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, in the back?
What's the,
Wait, hold on, because, is it a short question? I can repeat it.
what's the number one way, or what's the number one way one can honor or be true to themselves in terms of the Buddha?
That's a good question. What's the number one way to honor the...
Honor and be true to oneself.
Yeah, and so that sounds wonderful, doesn't it? As an ideal, right? Yeah, I want to be true to myself. I want to honor myself. Now the question becomes, what is myself? You see? Now most people, when they talk about, I want to honor, be true to myself, which sounds great, and that's certainly where we want to go, right? What if in the beginning, I don't really know my true self? I know I have all these identities, but who am I? Who's the one who has all these identities? See, what is my true self? And somebody might say, well, it's my inner voice, right? Right? Now, has anybody ever listened to that inner voice? Is it always giving you good advice? If we're honest, we would say what? No. So there are a lot of teachings that sound good, right? Like trust yourself. I even say that. Yeah, you got to learn to trust yourself. But what if at this point, the inner voice is not trustworthy or she's not trustworthy based on experience? So then the advice might be, right? You gotta for a while there until you kind of get in touch with who you really are, and you have an inner self that you can trust because it's giving you good advice. You can't trust that inner voice because he or she is telling you what? Anybody ever listen to that inner voice? Yes. What were you gonna say? What?
The inner voice is saying, get that car.
Get that car. There you go. Because, see, there's no such thing as our inner voice. For most of us, our inner voice is just a creation of our past. Right? That's where it's coming from. And that inner voice is not like something I really sat down and go, so I got this inner voice. It's always telling me things. I want to really spend time to program it so it's only giving me wise, intelligent, good advice. Is that how we developed our inner voice? No. We developed that inner voice from all kinds of influences. Parents, family, friends, society, culture, Bart Simpson, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of things that have contributed to our inner voice. So at a certain point, when we realize that, we go, at this point in my life, I cannot listen to that inner voice. Okay? I need to find another voice. This comes back to refuge. In the short run, until I really develop a quality inner voice that I can trust, well, what can I trust? Well, hopefully you've checked out the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and you go, yeah, in the short run, I can trust that. Right? It's like, if you're really sick, right? When you go to the doctor, right? And the doctor says, well, this is what the problem is, and this is what you got to do. Are you going to listen to them? If you don't trust your doctor, you're not going to listen to him, are you? Mm-mm. Or you think, well, maybe they don't really know what they're doing. So at a certain point, if you want to get well, you have to trust. Is that you know what I'm saying? So we have to trust. Okay? Yeah, so it takes time, but when and again, like we have this upcoming intensive on the 4 nutriments, that's all about the consumption, food consumption, mental consumption, feeling consumption, media consumptions. What am I feeding my body, mind all the time? And is what I'm feeding helping me to grow and develop the way I want? Or is it still feeding those parts of me that aren't healthy? In a certain sense, Buddhism is very scientific. Everything is cause and effect. The fundamental law of cause and effect is big. If at this moment, each of us, we are the product of our past causes. You could be in therapy for the rest of your life, but it's many variables. We are the product of many, many causes, right? Who we are, our own family, friends, society, Bart Simpson. There are many things that have created us. And for many of us, we've been just open, we've just been open to it all. There's been no, as we say often, there's been no guardian at the gate, right? There's like nobody there at the gate going, before I let you in, I want to check you out, right? For many of us, we've had no guard at the gate, can you see? So everything's come in. And then we wonder why so many conflicting messages, right? So part of spiritual life is beginning to put a guard at the gate. So I'm more in terms of, what I consume, in terms of my mind, my speech, everything. I understand that this is affecting me, right? Relationships affect you. There are people out there that are what? What? Toxic. Or there are people out there that are really screwed up. Is that true? Yeah. No, it doesn't mean, we hate them or anything. But it means, yeah, this is somebody's advice I'm not going to take. So, there's lots of influences that we have that are nurturing us positively and negatively. Yeah. So the end game, you want to discover your true nature. You want to be able to live from your own natural wisdom and ease and open-heartedness. So that's why we undertake a spiritual life, a meditative life, so we can know how to develop that. So it's not just thinking. That's often frustrating to many people. They've heard the talks, they listen to the podcasts, they've read all the books. Why is it still same old inside? Anybody ever wonder about that? Well, it's because there's more to us than just that. Okay? Thank you for your question. Any other questions? Everybody settled here? Come on. Okay, it was a precious time we have to be together today. We may never meet again. Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you, Fred. My main thing is about control. So I guess a general question would be, besides like a direct realization of emptiness, because right now it's just surface level for me, how would you let go? Whether it's relationships, letting people be, just what happened this morning.
Yeah.
Just what do you do to give yourself space and other people space?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question, especially because we live in a society where what? We want control, don't we? Anybody want control here? Control of their life, control of the people in their lives. We basically want the world and everybody in it to be the way we want them to be. Is that true? Yeah. And we exert a lot of energy, thinking energy, active energy, to maintain that control. We do it to ourselves, right? I want to control myself. I want to control the people around me. I want everything to be the way I want it to be. Is that true? Right. So that mindset keeps us incredibly busy, right? Because getting everything under control, right? In our relationships, the people around us, ourself, work, society, there's no rest, is it? Okay? Has anybody kind of, more or less kind of tried to work that strategy in life of control and manipulation to get everything just the way they want? Anybody going to own up that they've spent a lot of time doing that? Come on, there's more of you out there. All right. All right. What's your name? Eric. So the question is, we reflect on that, right? We reflect deeply on our strategy of control and manipulation to get life the way we want. And then we have to ask ourselves, where has that brought me? Okay. So, what's the truth? Have you been able to bring everybody in your life under your control? What? No? And when you cannot get everything under control, like the people around you, how about the future? Everybody has anxiety because they're worried that they can't control outcomes. Can we control this world? No. Can we control other people? See, that's the intelligent part of us. And yet, every day we're what? Trying to control and manipulate to get the world and everybody in it to be the way we want. So it's important that we reflect deeply, right, on, like you said, your strategy of control, and ask yourself, where has it brought me? Has it made me happier? Has it worked? And how about this one? How about, do the people in your life that you're trying to control, how do they like it? What? Everybody, what? They love it, yeah.
They should be so grateful.
Yeah, they should be so grateful. Or turn it around. How do you like it when somebody's trying to control you to get you to be like the way they want you to be? Everybody love that? All right, so when you begin to reflect in this way, you can begin to then have a ground for beginning to shift. So you have to be convinced that your strategy of control and manipulation doesn't work, and it brings you suffering, and it causes maybe suffering to others in your life. So you give it up with full knowledge. Not like, oh, I read this book about letting go, and I really realized I should be, letting go is a good strategy. See, that's another strategy. It doesn't come from deep understanding. Now, there's another whole area, I won't go into it today, which is looking deeply into fear. What am I afraid of? If I let go of trying to control everything in my world, what am I afraid could happen? Then it gets very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay?
that's great.
Yeah, so that's good. Other
We have online.
yes.
Chris asks, could you touch on the political shootings in my hometown of the Twin Cities?
We're here to take care of one another. Right? We're here to take care of one another. We're here to help one another. We're here to nurture each other. We're here to understand each other. We're here, that's why we're here. Isn't that why we're here? That's our teachings. Fundamental teaching for the first ethical training of Buddhism is do no harm. And yet we live in a world, what? Right? Yeah. The world is alive with what? Fear, anger, hatred, tolerance. So that's what happens when that kind of energy, which is a part of human energy, we have wholesome qualities in us, good qualities in us, and we have unwholesome qualities in us. Is that true? Yeah, we all have that. We all have love and we all have hate. We all have patience and we have frustration and we all have that, right? We have understanding and we have anger. We are all, as human beings, in Buddhism we say we have many seeds within us. And the question is, what seeds are being cultivated? What seeds are being cultivated within me? And what seeds are being cultivated by societal forces? Now, at the end of the day, the wonderful thing about having a spiritual life, a real spiritual life, is you're in control, right? You're, like you said, you're living from your own strength, your own values, your own way, and you're not pushed about by the winds, right? You have refuge. Now, most people don't have that. They're just blown around by the winds. Monkey see, monkey do. Somebody tells them this and they run off there. Somebody tells them that and they run off there. Somebody tells them to feel this and they feel this. Somebody tells them to feel that and they feel that. Right? Yeah, very dangerous, as you can see. But, until human beings change, and until we get leaders, and I'm not talking about which political party or anything, until we get leaders that are, nurturing that which is wholesome in life in human beings, we will continue to have the same. And this is not new, is it? This is ancient. So yeah, what's there to say? It's, these are the times we live in. And actually, in terms of that, there's something I want to share today. because I was reading about, there's been a lot of talk about kings. Has anybody heard about kings lately? Kings and no kings, and right? Everybody's kind of, okay? We know what we're talking about. Yeah. So this is Thich Nhat Hanh. Imagine there's a country that doesn't have a government, a king, a queen, or a president. There is nobody around to take care of that country. The country needs a government. It's the same with ourselves. We need to be present to our territory, to take care of it, because our territory is large. It includes our body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. We need to be the king and queen and govern our own territory. It's a different way of looking at kings and queens. So the question is, for each of us, am I the king, queen, king of my own territory? What is my territory? My body, my feelings, my ideas, my perceptions, my mental formations, and my consciousness. Am I in control of this? Is there somebody in control? We need to be the king or queen and govern our own territory. We need to know what is precious and beautiful so we can protect it. We need to know what things aren't so beautiful so we can fix and transform them. We need to be a good queen or king and not run away from our country. So this is very important, because well, it's like with that the woman who I guess she had some kind of cardiac episode. I'm not sure what happened. But there it is, right? And yet, for many of us, could we be around that and stay grounded? Stay clear? And being grounded and clear and not, being driven by fear or anxiety or need to control or all those things, right? Can we respond appropriately from a place of clarity? And so I think this is, I think what Thich Nhat Hanh is saying to us is very important, because the emphasis in our world is so much about what's going on out there. And there are all kinds of things going on out there. But they're going on out there because the things are already going on in people's minds and hearts. Right? And until there's any transformation in their minds and hearts, it's going to be very hard to change what's going on out there. So I'm not saying anything about, I'm not saying anything about politics and how people want to manifest themselves in this world. But hopefully, whatever it is, it's manifesting from a good place, a wholesome place, right? And that is a freedom that nobody can take away from us. Spiritual freedom is different than political freedom. Political freedom, is about what? Freedom to express your views, to vote. There are certain freedoms that in the political social sphere we talk about. But in spirituality, long before there was, democracy or political views, spiritual freedom was being talked about. And spiritual freedom means what? When you're not free, then you're what? Well, you're suffering, but you're what? Yeah, and because you're under the control of somebody else. You're not free. right? Again, 1776, our forefathers freed us from who? Anybody remember their history? The British, King George, the tyrant. Can you believe it? Telling us what to do. Taxing us without representation, right? Yeah, so we wanted to be free of that tyranny. But what Thich Nhat Hanh is saying, we might have a tyrant within us that's not that healthy. That's running the show. That's telling us what to do. Now, I'm not saying, you have to get it all together before you respond to the suffering of the world, but it behooves us to ask ourselves, before I go out there, where am I coming from? How's my mind? Am I coming from a place of clarity? A place of openness? A place of caring? Right? Or am I coming from a place of fear or anger? Despair? Nothing good can come from that, can it? No. But good things can come from wholesome and clarity. So Thich Nhat Hanh says, we need to know what things are beautiful so we can protect them. We need to know what's not beautiful so we can fix and transform them. We need to be a good king or queen and not run away from our country. Each of us has our own country. Everybody know what their country is? Why don't you close your eyes? Can you look at who you are, which means the summation of your body, of your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, your actions, the way you speak and interact with people? Are you in control? Are you the king of that territory? So that all the actions of your body, speech, and mind are in alignment with your values or how you want to show up in the world or how you want to be with people. Do you have that capacity right now to say, yeah, I am the king or queen of my world, of my body, speech, and mind. And all my actions of my body, speech, and mind are in accordance with my values, with my aspirations. So please just take a moment just to reflect, okay? And it's just an assessment. Do I live a life of reactivity, or do I live a life of responsiveness? To respond means coming from a good place, coming from a clear place, and knowing you have options how to respond. Or do I come from a place of reactivity? Reactivity is just coming from impulsivity, coming from emotion. It doesn't see clearly, it doesn't see the causes, it doesn't see the effects of our actions. So please again take a moment just to reflect on what Thich Nhat Hanh is asking us. But am I really the ruler of my own country? The country of my body, speech, and mind? Or have I given over control to my past? Have I given control over to others? Do I really know what is precious and beautiful or nurturing for me, for my loved ones, for my community, for my society? And is that what I nurture in my life? In Buddhism, we talk about actions of body, speech, and mind. Is that what I'm nurturing? And do I know those things in my life that need to be healed, need to be transformed, need to be let go of? And the more we know that within ourselves, know thyself, then when we step into the world and into our society, we're coming from a good place, a wholesome place. So Thich Nhat Hanh goes on to say, there are people who don't want to be king or queen, who just want to run away from the job because they think it's so tiring. Some of you could be thinking, oh no, not more work to do. Now I got to rule my own kingdom. Yeah. They think it's so tiring. We run away by watching television, eating something, using social media, checking our email or the news, playing video games, listening to music, or socializing in various ways. We don't want to return to our homeland. Now, please, when you hear that, that doesn't mean all those things are bad. You can't watch TV, you can't be on social media, you can't do all these things. But it means, am I doing it because I want to get away from myself? I want to escape, I want to be distracted. And if that's the case, then we realize I'm not comfortable. I haven't created a homeland for myself that I'm at ease in, that I feel good in, that I'm comfortable in. You see, I've created a home for myself in my body, speech, and mind that's uncomfortable to me, that I'm uneasy in, that I'm bored in. So we don't want to return to our homeland. As kings and queens, we need to become aware of our responsibility, to see that we need to be the sovereign, to return to our territory and take care of it. So this is a big shift, and when people talk, especially for those who may be new, the spiritual life is a shift. It's a shift that we're not so obsessed by the external world. I mean, we live in this world, but we're not so obsessed with it, and we realize I need to take responsibility for my own body, speech, and mind. It's a shift away. In the beginning, we just want to take, we're watching everybody else's actions. We're watching everybody else's the way they speak. You see what I'm saying? We're always externally driven. But to enter the spiritual world is we become attentive to ourselves. How do I show up in the world? How do I speak? Are my words always wholesome and positive and constructive and supportive of other human beings? I don't know. Are my thoughts? What's, you know that place in your mind nobody knows but you? No matter how we look out here, what goes on in there? What goes on in there may not be the way we present ourselves to the world, right? So this is a willingness to return to our homeland and take responsibility for it. As kings and queens, we need to become aware of our responsibility to see that we need to be the sovereign, to return to our territory and take care of it. We can learn ways to do this, practicing mindfulness and concentration. That's one way we learn how to do it. It's like I said earlier with developing some capacity for mindfulness of the body, of the breath. We need a ground, we need somewhere, like we talked about refuge, that's one way. But just very personally, we need, it's like, if you're being knocked around in the ocean, right? Just being blown this way and that way. If you found one big rock, one big boulder sticking up, that you could land on, that gave you a little bit of stability, you see? So you're not being blown about. Some little place of, where you could stand up on and look around and see what's going on and what's around you. It doesn't have to be a whole big island, does it? But just something big enough that'll support you. So you can have some stability and a rest from all this endless activity and motion that's being, that we're knocked around by. And where you could kind of stand up and get a bigger view of what's going on. So, it's hard to find that in life these days. It's hard to find that in relationships these days because everything in our world, in our modern world, is what? Has anybody noticed? It's what? Unstable. There's just lots of instability everywhere. Is that true or not true? Yeah, even in relationships, people have to work at relationships. Anybody ever hear that? If you want a good relationship, you got to work at it. That's a new concept. For thousands of years, human beings, men had their role, women had their role, children had their role, parents had their, you know what I'm saying? It was all, everybody knew their role, everybody knew their place. That's not our society, is it? What's our society? What? Everything's up for grabs. Right. You see what I'm saying? So if everything's up for grabs, then what's gonna, where do you get clarity? So we need to find, each of us within ourselves, that place of stability, that place of groundedness, right? That rock that we can stand on so we can deal with all of this that's going on around us and within us. Right? So even just having that simple capacity of self-awareness of your body and your breath, it gives you what? A ground that you can look at. You can watch your thoughts. That's one of our practices, watching thoughts without reacting. For many people, that's a lifesaver. Because for most people, their thoughts tell them to do something, and what do? Off and running. Right? So be able to go, it's an interesting thought. Let it go. I don't want to follow that. I know where that goes. How do I know? Because I've told myself that story 1,000 times. I know exactly where it goes. And yet we'll tell it again with exactly the same emotional response. There's no ground, there's no clarity, there's no gatekeeper. Right? The gatekeeper is the one who stays at their post. Everybody else is coming and going, right? But the gatekeeper stays at the post. They have the criteria. You're not on the list. Don't let you in. You're on the list. Come on in. You know, ask yourself, do you have a list within your mind? You know what's wholesome and not wholesome? You know what you want to cultivate and what you don't want to cultivate? We need to ask ourselves. So, this is, anyhow. Questions about this? We just have a few minutes. I mean, is this clear? I mean, any questions about, application, bringing it into your life, making shifts or changes? Is there anything to get in the way? Everybody signing up? Yes, sir. In the back.
Thanks. You talked about the distinction between reactivity and responsiveness.
Yes.
What role does proactivity play?
Yeah, well, so proactivity is good. It means you have the big picture, you can see what's coming. You can see where things are going. Again, everything, once you begin to understand that everything is happening because of causes and conditions, and once you begin to, look at life that way, you realize is that everything that is happening for prior cause. Right? People pick up the newspaper every day. We don't pick up the newspaper anymore, forgive me. We turn on our internet, right? Right? Every day we turn on internet and there's a new story, right? And we react to it. But yet, everything that has happened is happening because of prior causes and conditions. So many variables, right? Everything that's happening in our political, social world, many variables from the past, right, are manifesting in the present, right? So, having that understanding, one can be proactive. Yeah, but it takes a certain, again, capacity of having some distance, of having some, of not being emotionally reactive to things. So, clear thinking. How do you get that clarity? Well, you have to have a mind that's clear. But if you have a mind that's full of thoughts and full of emotions and full of, again, anything could happen. So, yeah. Being able to respond to life, being proactive, you can see things are coming. Such as, if I say this to him or her, it's not going to be good. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Proactive. I know where this is going to go, Am I gonna, throw a little gas on the fire? Right? Proactive. Because why? Because one, you're clear-headed, and two, you know what you want to create. And you know that if I say this or do this, it's not going to be good. Everybody know what I'm talking about? I mean, we all live our life and our relationships, but without that clarity, it's very hard. So again, that's why, the world is crying out for awakened people who are awake, people see clearly, right? Here we are. Is it going to be us? Each of you have your life. We're all lay people here. You have your families, you have your work, you have your communities, right? Everybody here is different. But in each of those places where we show up, how do I want to show up? Is that clear? How do I want to show up? Wherever I am. At work, at home, in society. What do I want to, what do I want to put forth? Okay, we have time, maybe one more question online too, Brian?
We just have a question online asking what book you're reading from.
They always want to get the book. Part of me says, I don't want to tell you. It's called How to Focus by Thich Nhat Hanh. And the truth is, we have a library here. I was in the library yesterday. I forget what I was doing. I think I was doing something with the AC or something. I don't know. There was nobody here. And I happened to see there's a little bin there for people to return books. And I kind of, there were a couple of books I just kind of looked in there. I saw this one, How to Focus. For some reason, I picked it up. Then this morning, earlier, I was thinking, what am I going to talk about today? I picked it up. There were some good things in here. Yeah, you know, basically, Thich Nhat Hanh taught for decades, right? And most of his talks were recorded. So for the people who are publishing, there's a mine of things. So this is not like something he wrote. This is like they've took many little different, they're all like one page little things, 2 pages. I mean, you know, it's incredibly wise. How to Focus by Thich Nhat Hanh. Well, we've had enough excitement for one day. What do you say? Thank you, everyone.